introducing the guest speaker, few instructions to you all. I request all of you to mute your audio. To avoid the bandwidth usage, you can mute your video also. At the end of the presentation, you can ask your doubts and get clarified from the resource person. For that, there are two methods are there. One, you can click the hand raise button and your audio will be unmuted and you can ask the question directly. Other option is you can type your queries in the chat window and that will be also addressed by the resource person. And one more thing, at the end of the session, we will be sharing a feedback link. I request all of you to put the genuine feedback in that. And at the same time, you have to take much care, maximum care, while entering your name and our contact details, because from that only we are creating the e-certificate, and the e-certificates will be sent to you through email ID. For your later references, this presentation or this webinar is recorded and it will be uploaded in our website, so you can refer it in later also. With this brief introduction about this, I request our placement officer to introduce the guest speaker. I request our placement officer, Andrew Xavier Roach, to introduce the guest and invite him to address the gathering. Welcome, Andrew, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. And good afternoon to all the participants who have joined this webinar. And I'm very happy to introduce our speaker, Mr. Solomon Ashok, today here. He's the manager and he's the managing director of Splendio Technologies, Indian team manager, career development partners. And he's an entrepreneur with 14 years of experience in IT services and global HR. Solomon is the founder of KRU.ai, an artificial intelligence HR technical company powering the top recruitment companies in United States, and Gentendose.com, candidate endorsement platform. He is a technology expert and researcher in both industry and academia. He brings years of experience in building, managing, and nurturing technology-driven teams and startups. He has a Bachelor of Engineering in Manufacturing Technology from Karunya University, MBA in Finance, and holds a provisional patent in Internet of Thinking. Sir, we are very happy to have you for this webinar series today for our students. Over to you now, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Welcome,
happy
sir.
to be. Yeah, thank you. So it's my pleasure. You visit Xavier College again. So it was like 2018. I was there for 2 days and delivering 2 sessions at Xavier College, and I heartily thank ICT Academy for this initiative, as well as Andrew sir, Hachuri sir for inviting me for this seminar. So even during the lockdown, I can see like a lot of students are here and they have joined to listen and learn from this. So basically, like today's seminar, it's on data science and its applications. So I wanted to split it into 2 to 3 sessions. Like data science introduction will be there, and then the applications of data science will be in the later part. After that, I'll be having a session on resume preparation as well. That is my last 10 minutes, but that's a very important part that I wanted to speak to the students, because every day we are seeing hundreds of resumes from freshers. But the problem is like most of the resumes are not up to the mark. I can even say that 99% of resumes are not up to the mark. So I don't want to miss this opportunity to deliver that, because I wanted to tell students what the industry is looking for. So that is my last 10 minutes, and we will take at least 1 hour of time. So let's have an introduction of data science and then the applications of data science and how it is going on AI and other stuff. So then we will move on to the resume part. And before starting, I again thank Xavier's College and ICT for this opportunity. So I'm happy to be here. And I just want to start with a small like introduction about myself. So I started my journey from Tuticorin, that is nearby to Nagarkoil. From Tuticorin in a very like in a government school. I'm not from a matriculation or any bigger school. I started my journey from a government school, and when I was doing my 10th standard, something happened in my life.
Excuse me, Solomon sir. Excuse me, Solomon sir.
Yeah.
Some disturbance in the audio.
Okay.
Please check.
Okay. No, I was using the browser. So 1 minute, sir.
Please check the jack of the audio connection.
So can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, now clear, sir. Now clear.
Okay.
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
So basically, I just wanted to start with my small introduction. So I'm sure like it will impact few students. Like I started from a government school, as I mentioned. So I was doing my 10th standard, and something different happened in my life. And 10th standard, I fell in love, but the love was programming. So the love was programming. So wherever there is high tech, app tech, or whatever tech, I was the first person to go and knock the door and start learning programming. So that is how my love towards programming started. So after 12th, I applied for a few institutions in US. I wanted to get into US and start my MS, do my MS in US. But on that I felt everything was wrong. So all three institutions have rejected my application, and finally landed up in a college called Karunya Institute of Technology, and I was doing my mechanical engineering, not IT engineering, IT or CSE. So I usually call that my first love failure. So, but I started from there. In my second year, there was a mechanical engineering conference happening, and from pump industry, they were there, managers were there, they were discussing about mechanical concepts. And after the end of the session, one manager was speaking to my sir, and he was asking, I wanted to develop a software, and I'm looking for IT. And sitting in the hall, I was able to hear that. Usually I'll tell I motivated. So I was able to hear that, and I don't know where I got my strength. I just stood up and I told sir, I wanted to do the like software. So that is how my journey into programming started. So my first earning was 5,000 rupees in the second year of BE, and I completed my BE fourth year. I have done a project up to 65,000 when I was doing my college. So that is how my audio is not clear. Got it? Okay, 1 minute.
Little fluctuation.
Or I have to. I think I'll take a browser out of this.
Any network issue, sir, there?
No, I'm just sitting in front of the modem.
Okay.
Okay, 1 minute. I'll just check. So everything was correct. So still you have the problem?
No, sir. Now it is clear.
Okay. So that is how I started my software journey. So at the end of the session, I'll just I'll just let you know how I got into business rather than a job. So let's start with data science and its application. So before getting into data science, I wanted to emphasize on a major thing called 4.0. So usually, whenever I go to colleges, most of my students will be telling that, sir, do you want to be a producer for Robo 4.0? But that is not that. So Industrial Revolution 4.0 is none other than Industrial Revolution 4.0. We call it an Industry 4.0. So why it's very important? Why we wanted to discuss Industry 4.0 before data science? So data science is a fuel that is adding towards Industrial Revolution 4.0. And when you come into the industry after your 2 years or 3 years of engineering, maybe you'll be in second year, just 2 years, or first year, 3 years. So when you come into the industry will be Industrial Revolution 4.0 ready industries. So I just want to give a brief introduction. What is Industry 4.0 and then move to data science. So there are four different industrial revolution happened in the world. The first one happened, it's called Industry 1.0, which happened in the year 1784. It's called Industrial Revolution 1.0. When we invented steam engines or steam power, so we had steam powered trains. So when we invented that, that was called Industrial Revolution 1.0. And 2.0 happened when Henry Ford was there. Like, he introduced mass production assembly line. So electricity was coming up there. So it happened in the year 1870. It's called Industry 2.0. And Industry 3.0 is a major change for the industries, because most of automation, computers, and electronics were occupying the industries. So robotics was playing a major role. And this happened in the year 1969. And today we are in an era of Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 is none other than cyber physical systems. Cyber physical systems. So what happens? All the equipments or all the edge devices or all the physical systems are getting connected to the internet. So that is where Industrial Revolution 4.0 started. So here in this slide, usually we call internet, which lies only in our computers or mobiles. But from now on, internet will not be residing in our computers or laptops. It will be going beyond laptops, computers, and mobiles, because it's going to the cars. Internet is getting connected to the thermostats, your bags, or even your refrigerator, and even your shoes. Like, everywhere you go, the internet is getting connected. So what happens when the internet is connected to all the things? What happens? There is data. So whenever there is an internet connected to the edge devices, maybe internet connected to a refrigerator, internet connected to your shoes. So how much distance you are walking, how many minutes you are walking, how many calories you have burnt, everything is data. So all this data is getting collected. So through Internet of Things and other concepts, all these devices are getting collected, and these devices are being stored or transferred to the cloud or a data center, and it's stored in the data center. So when these data, when all these devices are connected, there is an explosion of data. So that is where big data and all these things comes in. So through big data, we were able to capture vast amount of data, huge volume of data, like velocity of data. So we are able to capture unstructured data through big data, and we store everything in the cloud. So I just want to give you what happens in 60 seconds. This was a 2019 status. So in 2019, there were around 1 million logins in Facebook. There were around 1 million logins in Facebook for every 60 seconds. 4.5 million videos viewed in YouTube. That this happens in every minute, every 60 seconds. So I wanted to focus on the amount spent on if you can see that amount spent online is close to $100,000 every minute. And Netflix is very important. People are watching 6,94,444 hours of videos every 60 seconds. So this is the explosion of internet which is happening. So through that, we are getting like terabytes of data. So the data is very huge, and we were able to capture the data, but storing the data alone is not going to make any difference. So what we are going to do with data science? So that is where data and science merge together. So we have data. We are every devices are connected to the internet. That is first. And the next one, there's an explosion of data. We were able to capture the data. We are storing the data. What happens next? That is where data science comes in. So this is a small introduction. We had covered 4.4. So whenever somebody is asking what is 4.4, you can briefly tell them it's Industrial Revolution 4.4. It is cyber physical systems. When all the devices, all the edge devices, or anything that is getting connected to the internet. So that is called Industrial Revolution 4.4. And after that, through that, we are getting large amount of data, and if it's getting stored, what we are going to do next. So that is where data science comes in. So one more data point that I wanted to refer here. If there is an automated car, you might have heard about automated or semi-automated cars, Tesla and other things. If a car is running for an hour, it is generating 25 GB of data. If a car running for an hour is generating 25 GB of data, the same way you can see the jet engines, air flights. If a flight is running for an hour, it is generating 51,000 GB of data per hour. So that is the amount of data we are getting every day, every hour. And as wind turbine, you have seen that because in India now there are a lot of wind turbines. A wind turbine or a wind turbine blade is able to give 500 GB of data. So this is how the volume of data is increasing. So we are able to store the data. What we are going to do next with that? So data science is going to play a major role. Okay, so we are getting the data, we are storing the data, but what happens? We need to analyze the data, and through the analyzing the data, we can find out some valuable insights, or we can even predict what is going to happen next. So that is why industrial data science plays an important role. So there are three different methods we use in data science. One is scientific method, and next one is algorithm and process. So what happens? Like we collect data, we collect raw data from big data. Like through big data, we collect unstructured data, we collect raw data, we store the data. But through scientific methods, algorithm, and process, we are able to find out patterns in the data. So if something has happened in a pattern wise, through the data science, we were able to find the pattern. And using this pattern, we can even predict what may happen next. So data science is an area where it involves insights, that it involves extracting the insights from the data. So we have the data. You currently have understood that we have 60 seconds. We are collecting this much data. We are storing the data, but data science will analyze the data, will extract insights from the data. That is a major role of data science. So how we are going to do that? So I'll just cover two topics. And next one is need for data science. So you can ask me, so why I need a data science? We have data, we have big data analytics or other things. So why we need a data science here? So data science, I wanted to specify three main characteristics. This is not limited to this one. There are a lot of characters, but main thing that I wanted to specify is like when you wanted to make a decision. So roughly, if you wanted to buy a shoe, or if you wanted to buy shoes, like you will first decide which website I will go, whether I will go to Amazon or whether I will go to FirstCry. FirstCry is a website where you can buy for kids or babies. Amazon, you can buy shoes. So you will decide A or B. That's the decision making. So the same way, through the data, we wanted to make a lot of decisions, automated decisions. In AI, we wanted to make decisions. So we are going to find, and the decision making will be better through data science. The next one is predictive analytics or predictive analysis. So what is that? So predictive is none other than foreseeing what happens next. So basically, like there was a car industry, they have a component which is close to 60 crore worth. The component is 60 crore worth, and they cannot store more than 2 to 3 components because the value of component is very high. But through data science and the data collected to the machines, we can find out the wear and tears, and we can even predict when it will fail. So they can order maybe 1 month before, because if I'm ordering 1 year before, 60 crore will be a capital and will be waste. So it not be waste, but it will be lying as a capital. So if I'm able to find out 1 month before a component is going to break down, so then I can order and get it on the right time. So predictive analytics is very important in all the industries, even in HR, recruitment, or anything. Predictive analytics is very important. And next one is pattern discovery. So all data is getting collected. There are a lot of secrets inside the data. So to find out the secrets we are using or the hidden informations, the pattern discovery is very important, and data science is playing a major role in the pattern discovery. So these are the three important aspects or a need for data science. First one is decision making, predictive analytics or foreseeing what is going to happen next. Next, pattern discovery in the data. So these are the main 3 points, and we go to the next one. So whenever I speak about data science, there is a big confusion sir, there is business intelligence, BI tool.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Solomon, sir. The presentation is not visible to us.
Okay. Oh, till now the presentation is not visible, sir.
Yeah, we can see you, but the presentation we are not able to see. Slide.
Okay, sir, I was loading everything on the slide.
Varun, can you help him?
Yeah, sir, you please share the
Can you
presentation.
see me now? See
You
the
are close to
presentation
share.
now?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So I'll just
Now
run a
visible,
small.
sir. Now visible. Yeah.
Okay. So this is Industry 4.0. I was just speaking about, and these are the 4 different levels of industry evolution. The first one is 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. And currently we are in 4.0. It's called cyber physical systems, which I already we were discussed. And this is what we discussed about. Internet is everywhere. It is not lying on the cars, lying on the laptops. It is distributed to your shoes, cars, and everywhere. So this is where internet is getting connected. So we have data, and this is 60 seconds happens in the internet. So this is 2019. For every 60 seconds, what happens in the internet? So I thought you missed all these slides. So I'm just giving you a small overthrough. So this is what happens in every 60 seconds, and this is the amount of data a car, a jet engine, or even wind farms getting collected. So okay, so this is where we're discussing. So the need for data science, better decision making, predictive analytics, and pattern discovery. So these are the 3 major points. There are more than that, but these are the major points where we feel there is a need of data science. So most of the time, whenever I discuss about data science, most of the people will be asking, so we have BI tools in our company. Why we need to go for data science? So there are BI tools like Tableau and other BI tools, even Microsoft Power BI. So a lot of different business intelligence tools, but there are major difference. So when you come for data sources, the first point is data source. Business intelligence lies on structured data, where data science lies on unstructured data. Example, like if you go and visit a web, so you can click thousands of pages or thousands of points. So it can be your web log. But in business intelligence, is data warehouse. Maybe like a product from A to B, it was traveling. All the data points will be stored. So it's basically structured data, where data science is basically for unstructured data. And the method is completely different. We use analytical methods in data science, in business intelligence, like a statistical reporting, like that. In data science, we use regression, logical regression. We have a lot of scientific models. And in business intelligence, is mainly used for visualization. Charts, there are a lot of charts, bar charts, pie charts, and a lot of charts. So, but in data science, visualization is also a part, but we have machine learning. So how we learn from the data is very important. And business intelligence will give you a report what happens before, where data science will give you a report, will give you the present report, and then it will predict what is going to happen next. So that is a major difference between a business intelligence and a data science. So whenever somebody is asking in an interview, maybe as interviewer can ask, like, we have BI tools in our office, why we need a data science? So you can point out that the main difference is structured and unstructured data, way of method, analytical and scientific. And then focus. BI tools is only focusing on past and present data, where the science will focus on the future. So that is a major difference here. So the data science process, we have different processes. I'm going to explain all these processes through an example in the next slides. But first one, data science process, first we need to define the business requirement. So all the data scientists should have a good communication. The need of data scientists will be a good communication. So it starts from business requirement. You need to sit with the managers or sit with the business leaders, and you need to find the problem or a requirement of business. And then data collection, how we are going to collect the data in an industry. There may be many ways. Some industry will not store data. Some industries will store data but cannot use the data. So there are data collection, and then we come for data cleaning and think of data exploration, data modeling, validation, and optimization. I'm going to come to all these things through an example because these things will be confusing. So we are going to have an example and how data science has been, the process of data science. So hope if you have visited Chennai or other places, you might have traveled in Uber and Ola. So whenever sometimes there is a peak time, maybe Monday morning or Friday evenings, when I try to book a cab, and the cabs will be like price will be 3 times high. If I'm traveling from like maybe Egmore railway station to my Annanagar, so usually it should be 120 rupees, but sometimes it will be 340, 400 rupees. So it is called peak time charges. So Uber or Ola having a mechanism through the data they collected to increase the pricing whenever there is a need. So when some more people are looking for a cab, or the weather is about to rain, or all these data points, Uber will be collecting and they'll be increasing the charges. So this is called peak time pricing or variable pricing. So Uber is using data science to do this. So we are going to see how this is going. This is how they are doing it. So the first one is data. Why they are doing it? Because they wanted to find the busiest location. The first one is Uber wanted to find the busiest location, and then if the rates are higher in that place, more drivers will come and pick up for the pickups. So there will be more drivers, so people can easily travel from busiest locations. So that is the main reason for to go for like peak time charges. So the business requirement is to give and to predict, to bring an algorithm to predict peak time charges through busiest locations or even bringing more drivers. So that is the business requirement. The first one is how to build a dynamic pricing. So Uber's first business requirement. So whenever you wanted to discuss on data science, the first step is understand the business requirement. So the requirement for Uber here is they wanted to have a dynamic pricing or peak time charge. So that is step one. The step two, so data collection. So there may be like many people will be calling for cabs. There may be a busiest location. Maybe like if there is a religious event or any kind of events happening in that location, then it will become busy. Or when the temperature is different, or if it's raining heavily, there may be need of cabs. So all these things are the data that they will be getting. So all the data will be collected, and this is called step two. So in the data science, the first step is data business requirement. The second step is data collection, and the third step is data cleaning. So what is data cleaning, sir? To make it very easy, so Uber will be collecting data about hotels nearby, books, shops nearby. Whenever you stand in a location and try to book a cab, Uber will be collecting more data other than temperature, other than events nearby, other than how many people are trying to book the cab. Uber is also collecting few more data like what shops that you are shopped, and what are the nearby shops, where you are booking. So all this data is getting collected by Uber. But to make a data in data science, like we wanted in the business requirement, we don't need all this data. We want to find peak time charges. So what we will be doing is we'll be removing unwanted data. There will be thousands of data records or thousands of rows in the data. So few records only we will be using for analysis, and remaining data we don't use. The third step, the main step of the data science, is data cleaning. So to make it clear, unwanted data we will be clearing, and this is called data cleaning. This is step 3, business requirement, and then data collection, data cleaning, and then data exploration. So what is that? So we need to understand what the pattern in the data. Maybe like if there is a political event, or a school timing is getting over, or an office is getting like 5 o'clock, office is closing. So that time there is a high amount of bookings. So through these data, we can able to collect, or we will be able to understand the pattern in the data, why it is happening. So the question for why, and that is what happening in this step 4. We are exploring the data, and then we are analyzing the data. This is step 4. And then comes the step 5. This is data modeling. This is a very important step for every data scientist, because we get the data. Through the data, we will train an algorithm, and machine learning algorithm we are going to train here. And this machine learning algorithm will be feeding new data. Like, I have created a machine learning algorithm yesterday, and I'm going to implement in a test platform where today's data I'm going to put in, and I'm going to predict what is going to happen next. So this is the data modeling. The step 5, this is where we build the data modeling, or we build the data machine learning algorithm. So this is very important step. And then validation. So what happens for validation? Usually we'll tell like beta users or alpha users. So what we'll do is we implement the data we have validated or a pattern we have brought in few customers, and through their new data we will compare with the historical data, and we'll compare whether the algorithm or the pattern we created is correct. So the step 6 is data validation. So after data validation, we'll be implementing to the customers. So what happens in the implementation? All the Uber customers will be having an app with peak time charges, which runs on a algorithm built on data science pattern through the data we collected. So this is a sequence of process. There are steps, 7 steps in data science. We collect the data, we get the business requirement, we collect the data, we analyze the data, we find the pattern, and through the pattern we build a machine learning algorithm, and we test it and we implement it. So this is the steps of data science, or the process of data science. So I'm sure like you have understood what is the steps involved in data science. So one more example we'll go. Same thing, like you have to go to Amazon to buy a shoe. So today you have gone to Amazon, and maybe yesterday night you are searching shoes in Amazon, and then today you are visiting YouTube, or you are going and visiting your Facebook. What happens is like whatever searches or whatever products that you viewed in Amazon will be shown in the ad the next day, maybe even next day, or even 3 days or 1 week after. This is called retargeting ads. So retargeting ads will run on data science. What happens is like whenever you visit a website, the web logs or everything is getting stored, and the data is getting stored in your local systems, or even to a Google server, whatever you're searching. So they are able to analyze all the products that you have searched, all the things that you have searched, and even they can analyze from your previous record, like maybe you have searched a product, and after 2 to 3 days you bought the product. Same way, today you have analyzed the data, you searched the shoe. Maybe in 2 to 3 days, when you are able to make a decision, they will show you the ad. And Amazon is reporting 60% of the sales right now is coming from retargeting ads. So that is the main application of data science. And there are a few more major applications, whatever we do in Google. Before you type few words, Google will tell you a few suggestions and other things. This is NLP. Basically, NLP also works on data science. So internet searches and everything is also data science. Same like what I show you in recommendation systems. Facebook will recommend your friends, and YouTube will recommend your videos, and even Flipkart or Amazon will recommend your products which you can buy. So all these recommendation systems runs on data science. So data science starts with data, but the applications of data science is very high. And the same thing, image and speech recognition. You might have heard about Alexa, Google Assistant. All this runs on data science. Whenever you speak, the words are split into small words, and then it's sent to the cloud, and the whole analysis happens on the cloud. But the backend completely works on data science. The major application of data science are 3 divisions: internet search, recommendation system, and image recognition system. Other than that, there are predictive analytics is a major part of data science. In an industry, or if you go to any market, predictive analytics is major. So you always ask me a question, sir. We have data science, everything we have, but during this pandemic, when Corona was taking over the world, what data scientists were doing, whether they were able to capture the data, whether they are not able to analyze the data before things were happening. But I can point you to one major thing, like before 3 weeks before China officially accepted that there's a pandemic or something like corona is happening in China, there is a data science company in Canada. They released an article stating that they don't know this is corona, but they were really finding the public data, and they were telling that the pattern of spreading of this disease is completely different from the previous record, and there is something different in the spreading. So they were able to analyze billions of data from whose record, and they were able to find out there's something different before the virus. But most of the times, governments will take action very less. So before 3 weeks, data scientists were able to predict that something different is happening in this disease. And another major thing, this article was published in January 27th. So they released a data, they released this report based on data science of previous travel and the current travel. So they compared people who are going from Wuhan to other countries, previous records and current record, and they suggested, they predicted, so this much amount of people may travel, and through this coronavirus can spread to these major cities. So these are the things that we're seeing right now. Whatever the Canadian data scientists have predicted, you are able to see all these cities are getting affected by corona. So data science is playing a major role wherever you go. So we have the data unless we find a valuable insight. Same like this corona data. Unless we find the valuable data collection is no way going to help us. So through this, you are able to find the data. We can predict what is going to. We can able to find the valuable insights, and through that we are going to predict what is going to happen. So this is a major thing of a data scientist. And end of the day, you wanted to understand what are the different roles in a data scientist. There are a lot of jobs because data science is a major work. So a lot of jobs. I'll just give you a brief introduction of all these jobs. There is a job called data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, statistical analytics person, data admin, business analyst, and analytics manager. So I'll give you a small thing. If you want to be a data scientist, and data scientist will be a person who is the one who will be taking care of the techniques or methodology. They will be only the one who works on the methodology or brings out the algorithm. So they are going to work on enormous amount of data. So the major language where data scientists, if you want to be a data scientist, you need to focus on R, SAS, and Python. These are the major programming language. And if you want to be a data engineer one who develops or construct tests. So as we saw in that Uber's example, like we wanted to build a test algorithm where we can test or we can predict a model. So data engineer is the one who tests the model or build the model through the data they collected. So the major thing is SQL, Hive, and R. This is basically a database related, but for an unstructured one. So they are able to collect the data and they can able to process the data. So data scientist and data engineer is basically a database engineer kind of thing, but with an unstructured data thing. And then we have data analyst. He is the one who do a visualization, like same like BI. This person will be involved in visualization, or through the visualization, they will bring a business decision. So R, Python, even HTML, JS, where you can do the visualization of charts and pie charts and other charts, they play a major role. And statistical theories is basically max people, and they collect, analyze, and they do the statistical analysis in the data. So this is one more job. Data administrator is the one who if a data is getting hacked, or if a data is wrong, or maybe a record we are storing in a different table, all these things will be done by checked by data administrator. So it's a validation. He's basically, he will validate all the data. And business analyst is the one who takes the data, takes the records, and go and present it to the business leaders to make a decision. The same way, the data science engineers who predicted that corona is going to spread to all the cities, the person who go and present to the government is basically we can call them as a business analyst. In the industrial point of view, we call them as a business analyst, and they are the one who goes and interacts with the clients, present them the data. So for that, they should have SQL and Tableau and Power BI. So if you want to be a business analyst, you need to focus on SQL queries, how to do Tableau, and the major role is Power BI. So Tableau is a major part than Power BI right now. So most of the Indian companies, they use Tableau for showing to the customers and visualization of data. So we have the basic thing is like we need to make a good business decision, and the good business decision can come from finding the valuable data. We have data, we have enormous of data, we have millions and billions of data records, but how we are going to find out the valuable information, data science plays a major role. So these are the few job roles available in the market right now, but data science is ever growing, and there are new job roles is getting added. So so this is what we are building. Our company is working on 2 different products. We are working on, the first product is called, we are working with Malaysian police, and this is our real-time video where we are able to analyze the car numbers. So we have a camera which is enabled with edge intelligence device. We're not taking everything to the cloud, so we are able to analyze the car number. So this was the real-time one, and the next product we are working on, gun detection. So this is also plays a major role because in US there are a lot of schools where gun culture is getting it's a big problem. So what happens is like when someone started shooting, after someone started shooting, somebody will call the police, and then the police will mobilize. So what we are building is like when somebody is taking a gun out of their pocket, immediately we will sound an alarm. Same way, we will inform the police what kind of weapon the person is having. So through that, the police can mobilize when the event was happening. Right now, most of the times, only after the event happened or after the incident happened, police were informed. So right now, we are building this method where we were able to find the gun, and we were able to alert the police immediately. So when the event was happening. So these are the major products in our company we're working. So I just covered a small, because just 45 minutes I have covered what is data science, the process of data science, and then job roles in data science. But end of the day, whenever I speak to students, they usually ask me one question. Whatever topic we discuss, AI, Python, or any topic, they will ask me one small question: unemployment. So is there unemployment? Is there Velaila Patadari? Is there still in the market? Or is it a big problem? Usually students will consider unemployment is a big problem, but I wanted to stress something here. Unemployment is not a big problem. So what is that? Unemployment is not a big problem. Yes, sir. Why? Why unemployment is not a big problem? The major problem is unemployability. The major problem is unemployability. What is unemployability? So recently, we wanted to hire 10 Python developers. We wanted to hire 10 freshers Python developers. We received around 333 resumes. How many? 333 resumes. And from that, we shortlisted 31 resumes. And we called them for a face-to-face interview. But we didn't even fill one position. 10 jobs were open, but we're not able to find a person who we can employable out of 333. So this was very sad because unemployment is not there. It's not a big problem. It is there, but it's not a big problem. The main problem is unemployability. So I wanted to focus you on I wanted to show you 3 resumes, and I'll tell you like what is the major difference and how you can prepare your resume. If you are in third year, fourth year, or second year, you can start working. Even if you are second year, it's very good time to start working your resume. Third year also start working on your resume, and final year you can take a quick note out of this. And if you wanted to modify your resume, you can do that very well. So this is candidate one. So if you can see, he is not an engineering graduate. He done his BCA, Bachelor of Computer Application. Marks are 70%. If you come to his technical skills, you can see he have done data analytics. He have worked with Tableau. He worked in Python 3. He worked in Vue.js. He worked in Microsoft SQL, even H2, big data related one. So these are his technical skills. This is candidate one. He's a BCA student. The next candidate I have is candidate two. She done her engineering information technology, a very big institution in Chennai. I don't want to show that institution. And all her marks from 10th till BTech, everything was 90 and above. Everything was 90%. Technical skills is C, C++, Java. And this is candidate 2. And I have candidate 3. So he had done his BE CSE with 61% marks. If you can see, there is an asterisk above 61 because he's having 8 area. He's having 8 area, but he is a brand ambassador for TechWork. He's a research ambassador for Microsoft. He done an app for Erode district administration. So he worked in Intel and HPC ecosystem summit. He went and attended robotics conference. So all these things he have done. So we have 3 candidates right now. And if you wanted to select 2 candidates, what you will select? So I have made I have made a decision. I selected 2 candidates. Selected candidate 1, who's a BCA student, and I selected candidate 3 with 8 area. I selected candidate 1 and candidate 3. I am not able to select candidate 2. Why, sir? Marks are very important. I'm not denying that. We are studying for marks. But the major problem is like you need to understand what's happening in the market. If you can see here, the area of interest she have mentioned as web designing, all these other things, and the technical skills is C, C++, Java. But if you can see the BCA candidate, see his technical skills, he is up to date in the market. So if a company want to hire someone and want to hold someone for the next 10 years, I will go with candidate 1 because he is up to date in the market and I can easily use him for my works. So how I can prepare my resume, sir? So I know there is a value of programming, up-to-date skills. So how I can update my skills? I'm going to give you a small example. So a few websites. So basically, for every fresher, we spend around 10 seconds looking at your resume. So your resume is your brochure. Whenever you sell a product, the company will make a brochure to sell a product. They will market it. In the same way, when you want to get a job, your resume is your brochure and you need to market yourself. So I usually tell students, if you prepare your resume, take a printout of your resume, go to a room, sit alone, try to read your resume more than 5 minutes. If you're able to read your resume or you're able to look at your resume more than 5 minutes, your resume is good. But most of us will fail because we know what is in the resume. So I am going to give you a small trick how you can make your resume marketable. This website which you are seeing, cognitiveclass.ai, cognitiveclass.ai, all the courses in this website is free. So when you do a course, at the end of the course, they will ask 10 to 15 questions. You need to answer 8, 12 like that. So if you answer 8 to 12 questions, they will give you a badge. They will give you a badge. So what you have to do, I usually tell students, like there is a beautiful movie statement, like life la over nodiyo over nimishamo nana sedikna. The same way, every line or everything, every technical aspect in your resume, you have to certify. You need to you need to add yourself. So the same way, I'll encourage students to start working on your resume today. How? Open your laptop, open Microsoft Office, MS Office, Word, and left side write your name. Control S கொடுத்து save your resume. Don't write anything else. Just write your name, save your resume. Go to these websites that I'm going to show you. Do your courses, earn a badge, open your laptop. Left side your name will be there. Start pasting the badges on the right side, or the conferences that you attended on the right side. So for a military person, how many badges they have on their shoulders is very important. Same way, for a engineering graduate, how many badges you hold in your resume is very important. So learn from this website called cognitiveclass.ai, and the next website is aws.training. This is a very important website. You can go here, learn from this website. Most of the courses are free. Whenever you complete a course, they will give you a certificate. So you can learn about cloud computing, AI, computer vision. All these are the topics are here. So the next is ai.google/education. Courses are free. You can learn about TensorFlow, NLP, so chatbots and other things. So it will be easy for you to learn here. And the next main website is IBM Skills Gateway. Most of the courses here are free. You can earn a badge like in blockchain. All these topics you can learn here. So all the courses are free. And one more website I wanted to stress, NPTEL, which is already signed up by your college. So you can learn courses in NPTEL, and you can earn your badge. And I recommend students to start now, not today, start now. So one more thing that I wanted to stress here, when I started learning online, probably like 4 to 5 years before, the first day I wanted to learn AI, I took 3 hours of video, headphone la maatitem, but within 2 minutes I was sleeping. I was not listening to the video, I was sleeping within 2 minutes. This happens, but I didn't stop there. I went to the second day, I was able to listen for 3 minutes. I went to the fourth day, 5 minutes, 10th day, 10 minutes. Now I can listen to a seminar more than 3 hours. So it's a gradual process. If you wanted to learn online, I'm sure like all of you will sleep within 10 minutes. So don't stop there. Don't think that you cannot learn anymore online. At least next day it will increase to 11 minutes. In 10th day it will increase to 20 minutes. So spend more time on learning. So be a lifelong learner. So my LinkedIn profile, below my name, my first designation is a lifelong learner, and after that only I'll be having founder, managing director, or anything. So I encourage students to have an attitude of learning, not from your books. Go out and learn from YouTube, from a lot of technical websites which I showed you today. So one more thing, I wanted to end my slide with a beautiful word by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So I encourage all the students to read with me. Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. So if you want to be great, if you want to achieve something, starts with learning. So it is not my word, it's from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So if you want to be great, start with learning, and that will give you a creativity, and creativity will give you thinking, and through thinking you will get knowledge, and knowledge will make you great. So thank you for this 1 hour time. So this is my LinkedIn, so you can drop me a message, you can follow me like in LinkedIn. So I'll be happy to help you in any projects, or if you wanted to do any AI related or computer vision projects, you need any help, you can let me know in this LinkedIn ID. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Solomon sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the participants, you can ask your queries. There are 2 methods.
Hello.
One you can raise your hand. Otherwise, you can type your queries in the chat window. Solomon sir, already there is a question in the chat window. Sir, which programming language is best for data science?
So right now, data, if you want to have a language, Python will be good, sir. You can start with R, and don't eliminate R, but Python is the best tool. So next one, the problem is the education system, that is for sure.
Okay, the participants, you can type your queries in the chat window.
So one more thing I can add here is like even in companies we are learning every day. So when you even step out of college, don't think that learning is going to stop. It's a lifelong process. Even they can unmute and ask if they can. Or
Sir, there is a question. Sir, is only Python sufficient?
To start with, it is sufficient because I don't encourage students to learn everything, but try to learn SAS, Tableau, and Python. SAS, Tableau, and Python. Because Tableau is widely used for visualization, and SAS is also a major tool in data science. And the
Another
data
question.
extracted
Yeah,
from
yeah.
data science, can it be misused? All the data can be misused because I can tell you like there was a prediction algorithm that I was learning few months before where I can if there is a shop, maybe if you man Pothys, which is in a remote location, not in the main road, and if I wanted to show you that there is Pothys, I can even reroute you through Pothys. I will show that this road is very difficult to go, so I'm going to take you to another road. Through data, we can misuse, but we cannot stop it. We started collecting billions and trillions of records every day. So we cannot stop it. IoT devices, 75 billion devices will be online in 2025. So data collection, we cannot stop it. And we need to do predictions. So that's why the market is moving. So we cannot leave it. Yes.
Participant, it is a right chance to interact with the guest speaker. One more announcement to the participants. The feedback link already shared in the chat window. I request all of you to enter the feedback without fail.
And as I mentioned, cognitiveClass.ai. In this website, you can learn about data science from the basics. The courses are free. That is a very important thing. So the courses are free. So start learning and start filling your resumes with badges. Thank you.
Any more queries from the audience side? Solomon sir, can you explain what are the certifications we can think about in the data science area?
So
International.
actually, yeah, certification is kind of like it is completely different. So Python, you cannot go and get a certification like Amazon, but you can complete the courses and get the certifications. Tableau, there are a lot of certifications available in data science. So if you are a Tableau developer, they are giving you certifications. So Tableau, SAS also you can get certifications. So Tableau and SAS you can go for the certifications.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Ben George. Actually, the presentation was very nice and it was very interesting and highly motivational. Actually, if a beginner wants to know about data science, you have explained the whole thing and it was very apt for the beginners. Actually, I have a question whether you have a high demand of data science requirement in India. For example, if a student completes a BTech, and if he has done a lot of certifications, whether he will get a chance to enter to the industry immediately or whether you have to do something else. I'm asking about the job market in the field of data
Okay,
science.
so the job market is really high, sir, because we are seeing the need because I'm also into recruitment. So I was able to see a big need in data science. But the major part here, the communication is also very important for a data scientist, as I mentioned before. So there is a huge need. All the companies, even from manufacturing industry till IT companies, they want to analyze their data internally. So it is not like it is confined to IT. Data science is going beyond IT to a financial sector, to manufacturing sector, to logistics sector. So data science, there is a huge need. I'm absolutely sure like this is not going to go away, but they need to be familiar with country-specific tools. If you go to US, they are using TIBCO, a lot of other SaaS. These are the major tools in US. But in India, we are still relying on SaaS, not SaaS, sorry, Tableau visualization, Power BI visualization, then R, few Python. So country-wise, learning is also, methodology will also change. But data science will keep on growing because it is applicable in all the fields, financial sector, manufacturing sector, and everywhere. So I'm sure it will grow. In getting a job, okay. I'm sure your resume will play an important role. As I mentioned, that is your brochure because you are a product that you're marketing yourself, and your resume plays an important role because, to be frank, every day I'm getting close to 80 to 100 resumes. Even today, in my email, my main work is to delete emails. I'm getting 80 to 100 resumes every day, and I just spend 6 seconds for each resume. I can just browse resumes whenever on the go like that. I'll stop when it is when I see something is marketable, and your resume, if it is marketable, people will stop and look at it. So it happened in my office. I called 3 students to come for an interview, and 2 people came to my interview. 2 students from same college. So I was looking at their resume. I interviewed first person, and the second person was he came in with the resume, and I was seeing the resumes, and then I noticed something different. Second person's father's name is different from the initial of his name. So I was a little worried. I was asking him, why you changed the father? Why there's a different in father's name? What happened? Before coming to the interview, they went to a DTP center and they modified the first person's resume into a second person's resume. And the data center for data DTP girl forgot to change the father's name. So when you bring a resume like that, we rejected both of them. So we rejected both of them. We told them it's like moon rava waste, 1 hour, 2 pages, moon rava is waste. So resume plays an important role. Don't copy your resume, especially girls. Whenever they come for an interview, they don't come alone. They usually tell us, sir, I have my friend, 6, 7 people. They will come with 6 to 7 people. So most of the time, all the resumes will be same, and all the 6 will be rejected. So have a separate resume. Spend some time on your resumes. Even from second year, start working on the resumes. And I'm sure like you will, your resume is very marketable one, should be marketable one. Okay.
Audience, any more questions? Already the feedback link shared in the chat window. I request all of you enter the feedback. Participants, any other queries do you have? Okay, Solomon sir, no other queries from the participant side.
No,
do you like to give any closing notes, sir?
I always tell start learning and do it now. That is the only thing.
Okay, thank you, Solomon sir. Thank you very much for joining with us. At the same time, I thank the ICT Academy for giving the link with you for this webinar. Thank you very much to ICT Academy. Also, I thank our college management, our principals, deans, HODs, faculty members for communicating this about this webinar to the students. I also thank the participants from our college and outside our college for attending this webinar and interacting effectively I know that few participants are from outside country also for attending this webinar. I thank all of you for your active participation in this webinar. Thank you very much. Once again, I thank today's resource person, Solomon Ashok, Managing Director of Splendio Technology, for being with us and sharing his knowledge with us for 1 hour. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Anthony, sir, any comments, or Varun? Anything we have to share with the audience?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, Varun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Solomon, sir. Thank you very much. Once again, I thank all the participants for joining with us for this webinar. Thank you very much. Varun, we can wind up, Varun.